Good evening. Thanks for joining us on India Business Hour. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines we're tracking tonight. The Sensex and the Nifty hit a record high as the Indian stock markets bucked the global downtrend. The Nifty Bank also hitting a new high. Reliance and ICICI Bank lead the charge. In a rare sign of civil unrest, protests erupt across China over stringent COVID restrictions, even as daily infections hit another all-time high. Demonstrators clash with the police in Shanghai, chanting slogans demanding the resignation of President Xi. Crude oil prices trade near 10-month lows on the fears of weak demand from China due to COVID restrictions. Brent crude prices at the lowest level seen since early January this year. The Kirit Parikh panel on gas pricing is likely to bat for decontrol. Sources say the panel will recommend liberalization of natural gas and allow market forces to determine the price from 2026. That's an exclusive. India's top insurance regulator says the launch of Bima Sugam is a UPI moment for the insurance industry. IRDA Chief Debashish Panda says the one-stop platform for all things insurance will take insurance to every corner of the country. M&M is doubling its capacity to make room for electric SUVs, says CEO Anish Shah. Also adds the company will look for an investment partner for the EV business only after the launch of 5 new electric SUVs. That's another exclusive tonight. The Supreme Court slams Union Law Minister Kiren Rijiju for attacking the collegium system of appointing judges, says the government cannot refuse to comply with the law of the land and frustrate the process by sitting on files. Warns that the centre is crossing the Rubicon and the court is being soft and patient for now. Protests over an Adani port project in Kerala turns wild and 3,000 people have been booked for allegedly attacking a police station. Local fishermen have been opposing the project, claiming it can cause sea erosion and hurt their livelihood. Domestic airlines Govt says 25 of its aircraft currently grounded due to engine-related issues, leaving only 32 planes in the air. Sources say curtailed operations have impacted the airline's cash flows, leading to salary delays, mostly for senior employees. The airline expects deliveries of engines in the next few weeks, which could put some aircraft back in service. The servers at the All India Institute of Medical Sciences remain out of order for the 6th straight day after a cyber attack. Reports say hackers are demanding 200 crore rupees in cryptocurrency. The hospital services are being managed manually.
Record smashing day really for the equities markets, and Nifty as well as Sensex have both hit all-time highs.
I think the world and the markets are basically saying that the domestic economy is on a stronger footing than the global situation, and I think that's what's now leading the next wave of the move in the market.
Clearly, domestic, institutional and retail investors have come of age. We are in a position to withstand foreign portfolio investors selling.
It's going to be a standout market for the next several years.
Okay.
Could be 2, 3, 5, 10 years. I mean, I don't think any other market will compare, if ticking all the boxes.
10x gains in about 20 to 23 years or so. And we have had a superb wealth creating opportunity.
Yeah.
And going ahead also, I think that it's going to be a fabulous wealth generating machine for the Indian economy, for the Indian public as well.
Well, another record-breaking day on the Lal Street. The Nifty hitting a record high in intraday trade. The Sensex also touched a new high for the 3rd straight session. And the rally in India has come at a time when stock markets across the world are subdued. The Nifty Bank Index ending above the 43,000 mark for the very first time. Heavyweights, Reliance Industries, ICICI Bank leading the charge today. Prashant is here to wrap up the market action for us. Prashant, record-breaking day on the Lal Street. What a great start.
Thanks very much for that. So we're finally there, right? Sensex hit a high earlier, the Bank Nifty before, and now finally the Nifty high has come as well. About a year after we hit that 18,604 and all the corrections. But what's the journey been like? And this is the table which tells you exactly that. In October of 2021, the market hit 18,604 and then it fell. The first fall was to 16,410. That's about 11% or so. Came back in Jan of 22 earlier this year to 18,321. Had the second fall to 15,671. Bounced in April 2022 to 18,114. And then made the low of the year, the June low, which is 15,183, before bouncing to the high of to 18,091 in September, which is just a couple of months back. And then the final fall of about 6-7% to 16,747. And now we're finally here, 18,614. I mean, you know, from October 2021 all the way to where we are now. But even as the Nifty has made new highs, only 26 of the Nifty stocks are below their respective October 2021 levels. That's quite interesting, right? So I decided to take a look. Which are the stocks which have done well? Which are the stocks which have done poorly compared to where they were when the Nifty last made a high? This is the list of winners, and you can see the top gainers. Adani Enterprises, ITC, Mahindra, Eicher. Let's move on, and you'll see a bunch more. Sun Pharma, ICICI Bank, State Bank of India, and Bharati Financial Services finds a strong mention, and so, of course, do a few others. These are the laggards, and a lot of tech here. So look at Wipro, look at Tech Mahindra, Divi's Laboratories is a stock underperformer, BPCL, and there are names like Tata Steel, Hindalco, and HDFC Life as well. Metals, of course, have had it tough. So if you were in the first list, you made a lot of money. If you were in the second list, I mean, not so much, you actually were down. But usually it's a mix. It's not this or that. These are valuation. This is the returns, right? We were talking about absolute returns, but this is relative returns in dollar terms. Nifty is down 2.6%, but look at the other markets. They're down much more sharply. What about valuations? So two parts. One, MSCI India versus the emerging market index. And this is the 100% premium that we're talking about. 1 year forward consensus, India trades at 22.5. MSCI emerging market is 11.3 times. So a big premium now at an all-time record. And this is India versus other large markets, and what do 1 year forward valuations look like? For the Nifty at about almost 21 times, S&P 500, the largest 50 stocks in Europe, and the Hang Seng, which of course is bombed out at 8.5 times earnings. So, you know, huge outperformance. The question is, will this continue? And can valuations really cap upsides? You know, do very high valuations, they don't necessarily by themselves cause a correction, but could it lead the market to actually spend some time for earnings to catch up and maybe other markets to catch up as well? I think that's a question which we will continue to debate.
Yes, Prashant, we will have to watch those questions carefully, but many thanks for joining us. Another reason why our stock markets are perhaps bucking the global trend could be because of the fall in crude oil prices. The protests in China sparking concerns over demand as the world's largest oil importer goes back into COVID restrictions. Now, this has led to prices softening over the last few days. In fact, crude prices currently trending at 10-month lows. Staying with the commodity markets, the Kirit Parikh panel on gas pricing is likely to bat for decontrol. Sources say the panel will recommend liberalization of natural gas and allow market forces to determine the price, but that's from 2026. That's a CNBC-TV18 exclusive. The top story globally, protests against China's zero-COVID policy intensifying, with demonstrators taking to the streets for the third straight day. Now, protesters were seen chanting Xi Jinping step down while the police dragged people away from various sides. Chinese authorities have been monitoring social media for any news on the protests, with certain search terms being wiped away. China's zero-COVID policy has given the government the authority to place citizens under prolonged lockdowns, even if only a handful of cases are reported. Now, as per latest data, China reporting nearly 40,000 COVID cases for the fourth straight day, setting a new daily record high. CNBC's Eunice Yoon joins us now from Beijing. Eunice, protests across China at this point in time. Take us through where things stand.
Security is extra tight here in Beijing, as well as in other cities across the country, after what was the biggest show, or arguably the biggest show, of resistance to the Chinese Communist Party since the 1989 crackdown on Tiananmen Square. There were protests erupting not only here in Beijing, but also in Shanghai, Chengdu, Guangzhou, as well as other cities, sparked, at least in part, by the deaths at a building fire in the far western city of Urumqi, where people suspect that those deaths were at least partially caused by COVID controls. Now, the focus of these protests are primarily against the zero COVID policy. However, there are indications that people are having wider grievances. For example, some people here in Beijing were holding up white paper to protest the censorship and the widespread censorship here. Also, some in Shanghai were calling for President Xi Jinping to resign. Now, Beijing has been signaling that it's going to be sticking with its zero COVID policy, though curbing some of the most excessive curbs. State media has been running several editorials in the past couple of days saying that zero COVID is science-based and effective, while warning local officials against excessive COVID, what they describe as layers. Beijing is potentially at a turning point with this approach, and the wild card is really what happens with the virus.
Banners put up on a bridge calling for the resignation of Xi Jinping. But for people to do that on the street, that's extraordinarily daring. And even though we've only sort of seen it in this concentrated way in Shanghai so far, I think that will raise eyebrows and cause some concern. And you have to bear in mind that when protests become more directly focused on an individual leader in this way, and we saw this in '89, we've seen it in earlier protest movements in China, that's when the authorities start cracking down very hard.
It's extremely politically significant for it to happen in Beijing of all places. And I think to me, it really showed that people are pretty much fed up. They're exhausted with living under these 3 years of zero COVID, of endless lockdowns, of the uncertainty they faced. Something I hear a lot, especially from students, is they feel they've had their youth stolen. I think they will be under pressure to at least announce some limited easing measures as far as lockdowns are concerned, because people have made it very, very clear.
You can catch that entire conversation with James Miles of The Economist and Anand Krishnan of The Hindu on our special broadcast News Center at 10 p.m. right here on CNBC-TV18 on what's going on inside China. Quick check of some of the other headlines tonight. Credit rating agency S&P has cut India's FY23 GDP growth forecast by 30 basis points to 7%. For FY25, the outlook has been cut by 50 basis points to 6%. The agency has projected India's economic growth at 7.3% for the current fiscal. India's top insurance regulator says the launch of Bima Sugam is a UPI moment for the insurance industry. Speaking exclusively to CNBC-TV18's Yash Jain, the IRDA chief Debashish Panda said the one-stop platform for all things insurance will take insurance to every corner of the country and benefit intermediaries.
We are talking of a financial market infrastructure. And eventually, the way it is being conceived and conceptualized, it will become a systemically important one also, like the UPI. So for the insurance, it is kind of a similar thing that is being contemplated. There is no question of commission. It is a question of that is the overall commission structure what the companies decide. Here it is the ease of buying a policy, ease of servicing a policy, ease of settlement of the policy, ease of reach.
That's the IRDA chief. From one exclusive to another, M&M is doubling its capacity to make room for electric SUVs, says CEO Anish Shah. Speaking with my colleague Parikshit Luthra, Shah also added that the company will look for an investment partner for its electric vehicle business, but only after the launch of 5 new electric SUVs.
British International Investments and Mahindra Group were looking and scouting for additional investors for about 500 million extra for the EV project. Where are those talks?
So we haven't started them at this stage. Our plan is to launch our XUV 400 right now, get further ahead with the 5 new electric SUVs that we're going to launch, and at that point look for an additional investor to come in.
That's Anish Shah of M&M. In the aviation space, domestic air passenger traffic crossing the 4 lakh mark for the second consecutive day. And this record roughly amounts to 96% of pre-COVID levels. It's the highest level we've seen since April of 2022. Indian Airlines flew over 2,800 flights on Saturday, which is about 88% of the approved schedule. In relief for Indigo, the government has allowed Indian Airlines to take aircraft on wet lease for up to 1 year. Indigo Airline is leasing Boeing 777 aircraft from Turkish Airlines and had earlier requested the government to extend the lease period for up to 2 years. The DGC had denied such extension. Wet leasing essentially means an Indian airline is only issuing tickets for aircraft being operated by the carrier from which the planes have been taken. The entire operating crew and engineers are of the foreign airline. Since DGCA does not have adequate safety oversight on aircraft being operated under such an arrangement, wet leasing is only allowed for short periods. And more aviation news. Domestic airline Govt has been facing customer ire over frequent delays in flight departures and abrupt cancellations. The airline had to issue refunds to about 18,000 passengers in October for delaying its flights for more than 2 hours. CNBC-TV18 learns the airline is operating with a significantly smaller fleet, as almost 30 of its aircraft are not in use. Madhiya Mujawar joins us now with more. Madhiya, what exactly is going on at Go First?
Go First has been in the spotlight of late. Many passengers have been taking to social media to express their anger over flight delays and sudden cancellations. The cause behind this seems to be a significantly shrunk fleet. CNBC-TV18 learns that a large chunk of the airline's fleet is grounded due to engine-related issues. According to a fleet tracking website, 28 of the 59 Go First aircraft are parked and only 31 planes are operational. But according to the airline spokesperson, Go First is currently operating 32 aircraft and about 25 to 26 planes are grounded. Go First has also confirmed it is expecting Pratt & Whitney to deliver some engines, which should put most of the grounded planes in air. But there are consequences when nearly half of an airline's fleet is on ground. Sources told us that Go First had to curtail daily operations by up to 40% due to limited aircraft. We also learned from multiple sources that operating lesser flights have impacted the airline's cash flows, leading to delay in salaries, mainly for those in the higher salary bracket. The airline's on-time performance has dropped from the top spot in January to the bottom in October. Its market share has also plunged sharply by nearly 300 basis points in 10 months. The airline, as you mentioned, had to issue refunds to around 18,000 passengers in October for delays beyond 2 hours. A DGC official told CNBC-TV18 the situation at Go First has now improved. The airline too expects things to get better with the arrival of engines and a normalization of fleet in use.
Madhiya, many thanks for joining us. The government has brushed aside criticism that the Mudra loan scheme, which was aimed at helping small entrepreneurs get back on their feet, has seen a sharp rise in defaults. Sapna Das and Archana Solanki bring you more.
The government has come out in strong defense of loans under Mudra, saying the NPAs are at just over 3% in the 7 years of the scheme's existence. This is half of the banking industry's average NPA level of close to 6% as of March FY22. Close to 35 crore loan accounts amounting to almost 21 lakh crores are currently under Mudra.
The government claims the Mudra Yojana has transformed lives by supporting small entrepreneurs, thereby proving to be a game changer. The government's claims are in sharp contrast to the heavy criticism the Mudra Yojana has come under.
Right from the former Finance Minister P. Chidambaram to the likes of former RBI Governor Raghuram Rajan, Arun Shourie, state governments and a host of others, the scheme has been denounced. Probably the most interesting of the sharp opinions emanate from Rajan, who in 2018 said disbursements under Mudra are a credit risk, and this is the next crisis the government should watch out for. In New Delhi, Sapna Das with Archana Solanki in Mumbai.
Max Financial Services got a green signal from the insurance regulator, the IRDAI, to acquire the remaining 5.17% stake in Max Life, which is currently being held by Mitsui Sumitomo. The transaction is expected to be completed in the next fortnight, and the agreement will see the purchase of 9.91 crore shares of Max Life at 85 rupees a share. With this, Max Financial Services stake in Max Life will increase to 87%. Amazon India has closed the shutters on its third business in just a week. The move comes at a time when the company is undertaking cost-cutting measures across the country. The e-commerce giant has now decided to shut down its distribution vertical. The company in a statement says, and I quote, "We've made the decision to discontinue Amazon distribution, our wholesale e-commerce website, for small stores in Bangalore, Mysore and Hubli," end of quote. Aditya Birla Fashion and Retailer has announced its partnership with 8 digital-first lifestyle brands as part of its House of Brands venture tomorrow. This investment has established a strong foundation with a diversified portfolio across several fashion subcategories like casual wear, kids wear and western wear. The new tie-ups help the group gain a revenue run rate of over 700 crore rupees so far and is on track to cross 1,500 crore rupees in 12 months.
Our plan in year one of setting up tomorrow is to establish a portfolio of around 10 to 12 brands, and we're looking to invest anywhere between 500 to 600 crores in our first year. And with today's announcements, we have a portfolio of 8 brands which are tracking to a run rate of 700 crores. And in the next 12 months, we're quite confident that we'll grow these to a 1,500 crore plus business both through existing brand organic growth and also expanding the portfolio further.
Well, time for us to enter a break. But up next, the Supreme Court comes hard on the government on Union Law Minister Kiren Rijiju's comments for attacking the collegium system of appointing judges. That and more when we return. The Supreme Court has slammed Union Law Minister Kiren Rijiju for attacking the collegium system of appointing judges. The apex court said that the government cannot refuse to comply with the law of the land and, I quote, frustrate the process by sitting on files. It's warned that the centre is crossing the Rubicon and that the court is being, and I quote again, soft and patient for now. Ashmit joins us with more from what transpired in court. Ashmit, take us through what led to the court making these comments. What was the provocation?
Well, the Supreme Court today expressing its deep anguish and frustration at what it calls is the centre frustrating the process of judicial appointments. Keep in mind that in the previous hearing, the Supreme Court had red flagged how various files and recommendations that are sent by the collegium, the centre then chooses to sit on these files indefinitely, which delays the entire process, frustrates the entire process. And in fact, towards that end, the Supreme Court had, in a very sharp question, had posed a sharp question and had sought a reply from the Law Ministry. What they got instead was a public comment by the Law Minister. The public comment essentially said that if they're so keen on it, the judiciary should go ahead and appoint its own judges. Now, that is one comment that did not go down well with the bench today. The bench, in fact, while not taking his name directly, said that there were people higher up on the government machinery that have been making public comments, that these public comments are not welcome, are not in good taste, and if required, while the Supreme Court may be acting soft and patient for now, the Supreme Court will not be shy of acting if required and going ahead and appointing judges to the Supreme Court as well as the High Courts. Now, the Supreme Court expressing its frustration and saying that the centre in sitting on these files is crossing the Rubicon, that this is the timelines have gone completely haywire, that there are appointments, there is good talent that is lost because of the fact that the centre chooses to sit on these files. And on the back of these concerns, once again, the Supreme Court has asked for more clarity from the Law Ministry, and towards that end, in fact, even directing what the Supreme Court called was a double barrel of the Attorney General and the Solicitor General to convey the court's concerns to the government, and they've sought answers. The next hearing in this case will be on December 8th.
Ashmit, many thanks for joining us. Protests over an Adani port project in Kerala turned violent. 3,000 people have been booked for allegedly attacking a police station. Local fishermen have been opposing the project, claiming it can cause sea erosion and hurt their livelihood. Neetu Raghukumar of CNN News 18 is here with more on this.
Police has registered a case against 3,000 people, including women and children, after the attack at Vizhinjam police station. About 38 police personnel have been injured, and the protesters also claim that about 30 of the protesters have been injured. The Kerala High Court has asked government to ensure that there is peace. Government has also informed the court that as far as the loss that has occurred to the government, necessary action will be taken against the protesters. They also informed the court that they have registered FIR in both cases and ensured that there is no loss of life. Meanwhile, the Adani port had told the court that there is absolute lawlessness and the police have not been able to do much in this. It was the Adani ports that had approached the court, stating that they need protection from central forces to carry out the work.
Neetu Raghukumar there reporting from Kerala. Systematic investment plans, or SIPs, are giving Mercedes India a run for their money, according to the company's head of sales and marketing, Santosh Iyer. In an interview to the Times of India, Iyer said the luxury car industry is growing, but actual sales are a far cry from potential and wealth in India. He went on to add that disposable income into aspirational and premium products such as cars is not as widespread as it should be. Nilesh Shah, the managing director of Kotak Mahindra AMC, disagrees. He said SIPs are creating financial freedom for investors to buy what they want. Staying with luxury cars, for high-end car maker Lamborghini, India is among the 5 countries it's picked to launch its supercar. Meanwhile, in the electric vehicle space, Bengaluru-based EV startup Praveg has launched its SUV. Danish Anand gets us a glimpse of both.
Italian supercar maker Lamborghini has launched the world's fastest SUV in the Indian market. The Urus Performante has the power to go from 0 to 100 in just 3.3 seconds. With a price tag of Rs 4.2 crores, India was among the top 5 countries where the supercar has been launched. For a luxury car maker like Lamborghini, India is today one of the fastest and most promising car markets.
At Lamborghini, we are not just chasing volumes for every model. Our focus is to bring the experiences to our customers and to work on the customer journey to give them the best experience when they are having a Lamborghini in their garage. In fact, all our recent launches, we are bringing them within 3 to 4 months' time to the Indian market because we want our customers to drive and enjoy their Lamborghini around the same time when we start delivering these cars in the other parts of the world.
Deliveries for the Urus Performante begin in early 2023 and the waiting period is already 18 months. The company is working towards bringing electric supercars to India, and the hybrid V12 will be the first step in that direction.
Starting 2023, we are going to have the first hybrid in the Lamborghini, which is going to be the V12 model, the follower of Aventador, and this we are going to unveil towards the beginning of Q2 worldwide. And then it will also be launched in the market. And as you know that we are launching these cars faster, so we will soon also start delivering around the same time when we start delivering these cars in the other part of the world. What we are seeing in the Indian market that there is very positive acceptance towards the electric vehicles, and this is also being visible across the segments.
Bengaluru-based electric vehicle startup Proveg has also announced its entry into the market with the Defy SUV priced at Rs 39.5 lakhs. The company, which is yet to begin production, believes it can challenge legacy players without any subsidy support. The company has received 800 bookings so far and plans to begin deliveries in April 2023.
We strongly believe India will be the epicenter of EV manufacturing. There are 4 billion cars to be made in the world in the next 30 years. And that is an opportunity for Indian automotive industry like never before. What Proveg Defy does is actually build a vehicle which is beyond the current scope of the existing car technologies. We are already in production with our batteries, we are already in production with the chassis systems, we are already in production with most of the components. Only the final assembly line is being set up and it will be online by February of 2023. The guidance is for February and we expect March to be the final rollout of the first golden sample from that factory. We've already got 800 reservations without even the URL being public. We are in a zero-based subsidy scenario. Any benefit that we get from subsidies, etc., will be passed on to the customer. But the current business model does not focus at all on any handouts from the governments.
While the likes of Lamborghini have a dedicated customer base and a strong legacy, the jury is still out on how India's car market will respond to new entrants like Proveg. This is Danish Anand for CNBC-TV18.
And on that note, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of India Business Hour. Thanks very much for watching. Stay tuned. The news continues here on CNBC-TV18.